I had it in my mind I have an essay in mind that I wanted to read. Uh, it's a really, really beautiful essay, and it's written by the same student who wrote the essay that I read earlier this week called Dendrochronology, about um, the rings of trees, using the rings of trees as a metaphor. And she wrote another essay, not for the Common App, but for a supplement. And I want to speak about that today, actually. It's one of the things I wanted to talk about. And in my book, The Art of the College Essay. It's one of my absolute favorites. I decided to end the book with that essay because it's really beautiful, and it's just sort of, it seems like a great place a great note to end the book on. Um, I don't think it's particularly relevant for these times, but it's relevant for any time, and I thought I would read that today. On the subject of supplements, though, so you know that students write one main essay of 650 words for the Common App, and the Common App came about in 1975. I thought it was more recently, but it's 1975, with the purpose of having students cut down the number of essays they write for various schools that they're applying to. And at that time, probably students applied to 5 schools. I only applied to 3 in 1970, 76, 77. But now students are applying 12, 15, even 18 schools. And the Common App was designed to cut down the number of essays that students would have to write. But then what happened is, because the student was writing one essay that went to lots of different schools, the schools themselves became that they weren't getting something unique that they had just, invented themselves, designed themselves, and so they added supplements. So there's the Common App essay, which is a 650 word essay that almost all schools in the country require, and actually even international schools are sometimes using the Common App essay or accepting the Common App essay. And then in addition to that, they've now added supplements. Well, now is a long time, but for a long time they've been doing that. And the supplements are additional questions. And sometimes the schools just have one additional question. Why do you want to go to NYU, or something like that? Or they have 5 additional questions. Or, as in the case of Stanford, they have 11 additional questions. So if you think about it, if a student is applying to um, 12 to 15 schools, which is common, and everybody's writing a Common App essay of 650 words, and then in addition to that, they're writing a supplementary essay, many supplementary essays, say an average of 2 or 3. You're talking about, and you try to repurpose any essay you can repurpose, you repurpose and use it for another school, which is why they ask unique questions, because they want an essay that's written just for them. Sort of defeats the purpose of the Common App, but there you have it. So students will be writing, I don't know, 15, 18, 22 discrete separate essays. Actually, that's why I have a job. It's a major operation. Writing is difficult for everyone, and this is probably the most important piece of writing a student or a person will ever do in their lives. I mean, your whole future hinges on it. So, and they're doing it in a form, the narrative personal statement, that they've not been trained to write in. So, yeah, so the supplementary essays are individual essays, prompts asked by schools that are unique to that school. And they require a student to go, they're sort of outside the box of the Common App essay. You can always look up, Common App essay prompts 2020, and you'll get, there's 6. The last one is topic of your choice. Things like, do you have a background story, identity, so a background story so important to your identity that your application would be incomplete without it? Have you ever experienced failure that has led to success? What has that involved? That kind of thing. They're just very varied what the supplementary questions will be. And they rarely change, so you can usually find in advance what the question is going to be for the next season. but it involves a lot of writing, not just the Common App essay. So the essay today is a supplementary essay for the University of Chicago. And that school is notorious for really, really interesting questions. In fact, they've archived their questions over the last, I don't know, long time, 20 years maybe, and they let you choose any of the questions from years past, and you can write on those as well as the one that they offer for the present year. So I'm going to read an essay that's was written for the University of Chicago by the same student who wrote the essay that I read last week. If you were here with me then, really beautiful essay. But I want to speak to for a moment to the idea of supplements, and to announce in a way that on May 12th, which is just 8 days ago, the Common App did something unprecedented, which is they added another essay topic. And the topic, as I predicted, would happen. I thought it was going to happen in individual supplementary essays, but in fact, the Common App they asked for suggestions from colleges and universities about what they wanted to hear from students, and there was a sort of unanimous sense that colleges wanted to give students the opportunity to express their reactions, feelings, experiences with COVID-19. And I predicted that they would want that. I was in admissions for many years, at least 10 years, as many of you know, and I would have wanted to ask that question. I mean, it's the single biggest event in history for a long, long time. It impacts the entire world, and the lifestyle. It still remains to be seen whether colleges will open or to what extent they'll open in the fall. So the question's very interesting. I mean, it's pretty open-ended, 250 words, and they're asking students to reflect on their experience in a narrative personal statement with COVID. I have a student who's writing now a Common App main essay on that topic. It's not quite done yet, but when it is, I will definitely share it because it's so relevant and important to hear the voices of everyone really at this moment, especially because people are isolated. I know that much good poetry and writing will come out of this this moment in history. So I'll share that one when it comes. I would say it's almost done. It's going to need maybe 2 or 3 more revisions. So over the next few weeks, I'll share that one. In the meantime, those students are being asked to write this 250-word supplementary essay through the Common App about their experience. And actually, that reminds me, I'm doing a series of Zooms on the impact of COVID on college admissions. And they're free Zooms for anyone who wants to come, parents and students alike. There's one on May 27th at 4:30, and I'll be just speaking about specifically how to write college essays and how to think about answering the question on how COVID has impacted your life. In addition, the Common App is asking a series of questions after that are more practical, like, were you sick? Was anyone you know sick? How did it physically change your life? That kind of thing. But they're asking for a 250-word supplement in writing. It's optional, but of course, you always do the optional ones because if they give you another opportunity to express yourself in this such a limited showcase of yourself, then you always do the optionals. And I think it's a great option and it's really important. So I recommend that everybody do it. And it's not just a one-shot deal like you sit down and you go, oh yeah, let's see, how did COVID impact me? It's really something that, as you're conscious that you're going to be writing about it, I mean, all writers, I'm always thinking not about college essays, but just of how things are impacting me and taking note of my responses to things, and just developments and those kinds of things. And I know sometimes I can really feel it, like later I'm going to write a poem about this, I can tell, or that kind of thing. So it's really good to have students begin thinking about, students and everyone begin thinking about what the impact of this moment in history has been as it continues. It's ever changing, but here we are. So yeah, I just wanted to start with that. I think it's really important. So I'm going to read the essay by Soraya Nair. Now this one was in response to, the question was, Chicago authors, so here's the prompt that the student saw that they posted on their website, and this is the one she chose. Chicago author Nelson Algren said, "A writer does well if in his whole life he can tell the story of one street. Chicagoans, but not just Chicagoans, have always found something instructive and pleasing and profound in the stories of their block of Main Street, of Highway 61, of Farm Lane, of the Celestial Highway. Tell us the story of a street, path, road, real or imagined or metaphorical." And here is called One Road, Many Roads. This is the place I can remember living since birth. Sometimes I get flashes of a different abode, another time, a white-walled apartment with red oriental wall hangings and white cabinets, tall chairs, a blue couch with a yellow pattern. Yet whatever that place was, it is long gone. Here is what I have now, a tan duplex with a tall lantern in the front yard, petunias and more petunias. The road in front of the house was long and winding and cracked and faded to a light blue. As a first grader, the road went on forever and forever, for miles, perhaps even beyond. Who knew where the road ended? Recently I drove by and was surprised to see that the road extends for less than a mile. As a child, that same road extended for legions and in dreams covered oceans and continents. In real life on this road, there were people of all types living on my block. My neighbors were Egyptians. Across the street was a builder. Down the road was a boy with disabilities, like my own brother. 2 houses down was the home of a 20-something woman who introduced me to movies that she loved. She moved soon after I met her, but I still remember her clear blue eyes. She showed me a small part of the world through her television. A few months afterward, we found ourselves moving to a larger house about 3 minutes away. The day of our move, our neighbors waved as we backed out of the driveway. Right, left, a few minutes straight, and we were at our new house. Even our new house was only 3 blocks from our old home. Even though our new house was only 3 blocks from our old home, it felt like worlds away, quieter, and the houses were farther apart, feeling forbidding and aloof. Not long after moving to our new house, we found ourselves on a plane to India, visiting our grandparents. Humid, rainy, hot. India was a familiar place to me. From the moment I got off the airplane and landed in the airport, everything around me had a familiar smell. It reminded me of the smell that came from my father's suitcase after he returned from trips to India, visiting his own parents. Even after I reached the dusty, winding road to my grandfather's house on top of a hilly garden, I could smell spices that were common in my mother's kitchen in Chicago: paprika, turmeric, chili powder. Smells like home. The dirt road leading to the house was a dusty red, and after a while morphed into a proper brick road that winded into the open garden. Right next to the open garage was a beautiful garden full of roses, vines, and old trees. There were so many memories surrounding the garden and the 2 old mango trees. When I was younger, about 8, there was a flamboyantly blue swing suspended from one with stars in our eyes. There was no better transportation to reach our dreams. Another swing was in the back of the house, but its charm disappeared once we discovered snakes hidden in the bush behind it, ready to strike. The trees were a source of entertainment once the mangoes were ready to gather, and my brother and our younger cousins were permitted to scramble up ladders, grab however many we could fit in a basket, and proudly present them to our mothers. Beyond the small garden and its pristine white walls, there is also a stretch of land that belongs to my grandpa. There are rows of fruit trees and greenery, and you can spy the winding rusty red road and the gate leading to the outside world of bustling auto rickshaws and street vendors. This ending just undoes me. I'm probably gonna tear up when I read it. Really beautiful. It seems like many roads, but it was one road, really, from my first memory, the tan duplex, to this very house from which I write to you now. From a neighborhood of all sorts of people to plucking mangoes from ladders, every step I took along the way gave me new perspectives on the world. The road ahead seems unclear from this point on. However, it is mine to walk, and even if it is full of twists and turns, my stepping stones will be the roads my feet have already known. I love that. The road ahead seems unclear from this point on, however, it is mine to walk, and even if it is full of twists and turns, my stepping stones will be the roads my feet have already known. I love that. I think it's a beautiful expression of self-acceptance that, you know, life and relationship and has twists and all kinds of twists and turns, but it will be made up of the roads that our feet, the roads that our feet will already known, have already known. They will be the stepping stones to the uncertain future. It's just, I love that. I love that essay. Its detail, its attention to detail, and it's just wisdom, I feel. And the look back on how in childhood it just seemed like it was so far away, the new house. But actually, when she grew up, she realized it was only um, less than a mile. Um, and it just offers such insight about perspective and um, just wisdom about self-acceptance in our journeys. So thank you for sharing. We have some good news here as my son has had 2 days of fever, and I think he's going to come out of quarantine and back into the main house. And I have a lot more energy, and so wanted to jump on here again. It's just such a pleasure for me to share these essays. And I hope if you're interested, you come on 4:30, May 27th. Just email me about it and I'll send you the Zoom room link. 4:30 on May 27th. It'll probably be an hour, and I'm going to actually give a workshop on writing college essays, and more specifically on writing that Common App essay about your response to the present circumstances. So that should be really, it's an amazing opportunity, I think, to be able to write about that, and for that to count as towards your application to college. So pleasure to be here. Stay well, everyone, and see you soon.